Guys, welcome to the Homestead. Today we're going to talk about how modern farming doesn't work. But I'm going to give you some examples and ways that you can make it work at the end of the video, so stick around with me. I'm going to put up some notes on the screen so that you can follow along and kind of go along with my key points that I want to make here in this video. But number one, you can't earn a living at modern day farming. I'm sorry, you just can't. They're long gone, especially on a small homestead scale. And the reason why I say this, we just did a video the other day talking about the breakdown of cost by a chicken farmer that was posted over at Twitter, Instagram, and it got a whole lot of interaction. And people who are in the homesteading community see the cost breakdown. I think it was like $41 per bird is what it was costing this chicken grower to be able to raise chickens 100 at a time in order to try to sell them. Now, absolutely, their cost was outrageous, okay? And we all talked about that in the comment section of that video. There's lots of ways that that person could have been reducing cost to bring that way down from $41 per bird. All that aside, it's still going to be really hard on a small homestead scale to be a farmer today, whether it's animals, whether it's agriculture, any sort of agriculture, and then be able to try and make money. It's going to be tough. So what most homesteaders do is they try to focus on doing that just for themselves and then picking up as many skills as possible, like butchering and things like that, that are going to cut down on that cost and be able to provide a better food product for their own families. But let's get into why modern farming doesn't work. Keep in mind that today modern farms exist on government subsidies. I think last numbers that I saw, it was like 75% of all commercial farms take government subsidies. Do you know what a subsidy is? It means I can't make it on my own. Please, daddy government, give me some money so that I can keep working. Okay, they're operating at a loss. And the only way they can keep going is to get free money from the government. And we all know what happens when that happens, what the result of that is. So, and the number one subsidy in America, if you don't know, is electric vehicles. Okay, because you can't make money on it because people don't want it. When you can't make money on something and the government says we have to have this, the only way it can exist is for government subsidies, free government money. And 75% of all commercial farms exist because of free government money, and a lot of private farms as well. So just know that right up front. And we'll talk about why, agriculture, farming doesn't work anymore. We'll get into that more in a minute, but stick with me. A chicken farm or a produce farm is never going to succeed if you're doing it on a small homestead scale. Keep in mind that most of these chicken businesses, especially around the Ozarks, because there's lots of chicken farms here, I talked to a few people who run those over the course of being here for 12, 13 years. And they tell me that in order to be profitable, you must have at least 6 chicken barns, if not more, in order to break even. And even then, some of them are existing on government subsidies. There's grants, there's all kinds of things like that. Tyson, especially around our area, and other producers, the manufacturers, the companies are coming in and constantly telling them that they need to upgrade their chicken barns, they need to upgrade this, or they're coming in and, enforcing this thing or that thing. And it's always keeping these farmers either in the red or just above the red. And so it's hard to exist, and subsist on that sort of farming today. And we'll talk about why. But number two, and this is kind of why, nobody likes you anymore. Nobody likes you. If you're a farmer, no one likes you. It doesn't matter if you're an agricultural farmer or if you're a meat farmer. I remember growing up in the 80s. I was born in the 70s. I grew up in the 80s. Many of you probably remember this. Farm aid was always talked about. It was this huge thing. I haven't heard those words in forever. Farm aid. But do you know they're still doing farm aid today? It's like Willie Nelson, Neil Young, and John Mellencamp have been doing farm aid every year since 1985. But you never hear about it anymore because that's old news. Nobody cares about the farmers anymore. We have all this processed food. Why would you care about farmers? If you need food, you don't need to go to a farm. You need to go to the grocery store. Because no one understands where their food comes from. But you haven't heard this in a long time. Processed food is what is in today. Nobody eats things that are made with whole food ingredients. Everything is a bunch of chemicals. This is what's been accepted by the masses. And I always tell this story. I've told it many times on this channel, where I used to work at a food bank, or volunteer at a food bank that was local here. And at that food bank, there would be all kinds of, especially during the summertime, all kinds of growers who would bring in their produce from their gardens and from their fields and things like that. It'd be squash and cucumbers and tomatoes and all this stuff. And every single time they would pass all of that by, because they wanted the donuts that were a day or 2 days old that were donated by the grocery store down the street to the food bank. They wanted those 1 day old or 2 day old donuts. I don't care about the stuff at the garden. Give me the donuts. It's processed foods. We're addicted to processed foods. We're addicted to sugar. We're addicted to all these chemicals that they put into these foods. And that's just the way it is. We live in a day and age where alternative foods are being pushed on us very heavily. You have the Impossible Burger, you have Beyond Meat, you have all these things that are going on. This is what they want America to eat. Highly processed foods, foods that are fake, foods that are not real, foods that are not grown, they're created in a lab somewhere, and so no one likes you as a grower anymore. Nobody likes you as a farmer anymore. You're one of these people who are destroying the planet, because everyone believes that Day After Tomorrow, or whatever it is, climate movie, they're scared to death of that. And so it's been drilled into your brains that it's you who are destroying the planet. So all of this is why being a farmer on a small scale is not going to work. But as a homesteader, here's how it will work. Meat is about to get really expensive. And no matter how much they push this stuff, there's going to be a certain segment of society that pushes back. And I see this on Twitter. So many people in Twitter right now they hate how this Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger, all this stuff is being pushed. You've got lots of big name channels out there who are fighting back against this and fighting back against processed foods in general. So understand that there's a big pushback on this, but it doesn't matter. This is where the government's going. This is where the industry's going, and they're going to push it no matter what, which means meat is going to get very, very expensive. And so if you can grow it, number one, it's going to be good for your family. Grow it, number one, primarily for the priority of your family and you, okay? And then you're going to grow some so that you can be able to share with others and barter and trade with that. Understand that meat has always been a black market item all throughout history. In fact, I've told before on my channel that during World War II, it was beef. Beef was the number one black market item during World War II in the United States and elsewhere. Everyone wants meat. When it comes down to it, people are going to want beef. They're going to want meat because it's protein, that raw protein that keeps people healthy no matter what the experts today will tell you. So learn to grow it. Learn to grow it for you and your family, and then learn to grow some for people that you can maybe barter and trade with. Have that as a backup that you can black market trade with for people for other things. In order to do that successfully, you need to learn how to grow it successfully. Okay, learn to be a grass farmer first. If you're going to raise animals that eat grass, learn to grow grass. Okay, that's got to be number one. You've got to be a good grass farmer if you're going to be a good sheep farmer or a good cow farmer, a good grower of animals. You have to grow what they eat, because the market can't give you that anymore. You can't go down to the local Tractor Supply or wherever else, co-op, and buy all that food. You got to be able to grow it on your own. So you got to learn how to grow grass. Okay, that falls on you. If you want to be a good sheep farmer, be a good grass farmer. If you want to be a good chicken farmer, be a good grass and bug farmer. Learn how to be able to grow the things and promote the growth of things that chickens eat so that you can keep them fed year round. Now, this is how you make it work. This is how you make growing food, farming on a homestead scale. This is how you make it work. You have many irons in the fire. So let's go back to the video and just think about this for a second of the last video we did and talk about that chicken guy, the guy who was like $41 per bird. Absolutely insane. if you're going to go into that and be like, well, I have a homestead and I'm going to grow chickens. I'm going to be a chicken grower on my homestead. And you identify yourself with that one occupation, you're going to fail. And I don't care if that's chickens or a small time, agricultural grower who sells stuff at the farmer's market, or even if it's just beef. You can't do one thing. Homesteaders all throughout history have done multiple things. And I've been in this game long enough. Every single person that I have seen, big or small, every single person I have seen try to sell stuff, grow stuff in greenhouses, in their gardens, and then try to make money at a farmer's market, they all give up. They fail and they give up. And they stop doing it. It's too much work. People won't pay what the food is actually worth. It's much better food. It's higher quality food, but people won't pay it. So if you do that, you're going to fail. Okay, I've seen it over and over again. Every single person I've seen do that has failed over the last 12 years. They do it for a little bit. If you're doing it for a hobby, great. If you're doing it just for fun, okay. But if you're doing it because that's your source of, you want to make that your source of income, you will fail, and then you will give up and you will stop homesteading and you'll go get a job in a cubicle somewhere back in the city. Don't do that. Don't do that. What you want to do is you want to have many irons in the fire. Successful homesteaders that I see in, over the last 12 years are people who they basically grow hay, and then they grow maybe a couple head of cattle, and then they have some chickens, and then they grow those, and they sell their eggs, and they sell some meat birds, and then they maybe have some sheep or some goats, God forbid, or they do all kinds of all these things, and they're always, wheeling and dealing. You got to be a wheeler and dealer. Think of the homesteaders in the past. You had people who maybe raised cattle, and then I think of old John Wayne movies where people they had like a general store, and in the general store, I know a great example. Back where I grew up in St. Louis, there's all these roads, and because if you don't know, St. Louis is locked in by water, except for I think it's Road 100 out of Manchester. But everything in St. Louis is locked in by water. You have the Missouri, you have the Merrimack, and you have the Mississippi, all locking St. Louis in, okay? And so you have all these roads going in and out of St. Louis, and they're all called ferry. So you have Tesson Ferry, Lemay Ferry, Old Halls Ferry, because those roads leading in and out of St. Louis used to have ferries associated with them, and they were named after the family who ran that ferry. So the Tesson family ran the Tesson Ferry, and then the Lemay family ran the Lemay Ferry, and the Halls family ran the Halls Ferry. All these different ferries roads, and when they ran that ferry, you came up with your horse and wagon, and you had a general store there. They made money by transporting you across the river with the ferry, but then they also made money at the general store. And then, by the way, there was a blacksmith there that the family ran, and they would, shoe your horses for you, and they would sell you some produce, some food, or some general store supplies, and they made money all these different ways, and that allowed them to succeed. Homesteaders need to do the exact same thing, where you're always having different seasonal incomes. I'm making money now doing this. I'm making money now doing that. There's guys around here, they raise hay. They raise cattle. They do all these different, they raise chickens. They sell their raw milk. They do all these different things. And they're always making money with all these different avenues. And that's how modern homesteading works. It's how homesteading has always worked. And that's how you succeed. Stop thinking of yourself as an occupational career-minded person that has an occupational career name associated with your name. Get rid of that mindset. That's something that came about in the 1930s after the Dust Bowl, and people moved to the cities and they began working in office jobs, and they became accountants, or they became a doctor, or they became, and that's what identifies me as my occupation. Stop that. If you want to succeed at homesteading, if you want to get out of the city, and you want to detach yourself from the system, think different. Think out of the box. All right. I hope that makes sense. I've gone on a little bit of a rant. It's starting to rain here, so I'm going to get back inside before it gets a little bit too crazy. But leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. You can make this work. I really wish the best for everybody out there when it comes to their success at homesteading. I hate when people get frustrated and they quit and they go back to the city. I don't want you to do that because I really think your survival is at stake here. Take a look around the world. You need to be in low population density areas, and you need to be able to have some sort of self-sustainability and self-reliance if you're going to make it through what's coming. All right, guys, leave your comments below. Please like the video before you go and share it on social media. That lets people know, that lets YouTube know that people watch and enjoy my channel, and then it gets out to more people. I really appreciate that. Also, check out our merchandise over at teespring.com. You can find our Stupid Should Hurt shirt. If we had more hurt in this world, we'd have an awful lot less stupid. I will see you at the Marshfield Homesteading Expo of the Ozarks. Coming up next weekend, I will be speaking on September 6th, Friday morning, 8:30, and tent number 1. I hope to see you there. See you next time on the Homestead. Bye. One of the best perks about living off-grid is that I never pay an electric bill. I love being my own power company, but that means when things go wrong, I have to be the one on call. So I try and use reliable components for my power production. For the last couple of years, I've been promoting OUPES solar generators. I've been using them and abusing them, and as it turns out, they are pretty good products. They have power generators for all occasions, and they can be charged by permanent or portable solar panels, as well as AC power. They offer true lithium iron phosphate batteries, and this is important. Recently, a family in my area had a different brand that uses the less stable nickel manganese cobalt or NMC type batteries. The unit caught fire in the middle of the night. It was a scary situation and it caused damage to the home, but thankfully nobody was hurt. The generator, as you can see, was a total loss. This drives home the point on why it's so important to employ solar generators like the OUPES brand that uses the much more safe and stable technology of lithium iron phosphate, otherwise called LiFePO4. They offer small generators for travel or for powering an entire home and everything in between. These are great backups to have in a medical emergency or to power a freezer full of your favorite meat products, or as I have shown in past videos, for even backup AC and DC power sources for ham radio communications. If the grid goes down, you're going to be thankful you have one of these units. You can find the link in the description of this video or click on the banner ad found on the front page of our website at AmericanHomestead.com. Right here. That banner ad right there on AmericanHomestead.com. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.